Hellmaster EX. This award-winning system features the first single-engine joystick with digital electric steering and new autopilot capability. See Hellmaster EX in action at a Yamaha Outboard dealer or visit YamahaOutboards.com.
Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It's August 1st. These are your headlines. First and foremost, really good offshore reports this week from the canyons to closer to home. Also, the bonito bite is expanding and we're seeing some bigger fish moving into southern New England. And Cape Cod has been really hot for striped bass on both sides. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
Before we begin, I just want to recognize my friend Charlie, who let me shoot the video at his house today. We got some rain outside. We're under the gun to hit an earlier deadline today, so had to get creative, and I just wanted to step aside and just show his amazing plug wall here. He's definitely one of the most plug-obsessed people that I have ever known, so I thought this would be a cool backdrop, so thanks to Charlie. Also, we've got a couple news items for you guys. The first one is in Massachusetts. I just want to remind you guys that your blackfish limit is going to get bigger this week. So as of today, you're going to go from 1 fish to 3 fish with a 16-inch minimum. And just remember, only one of your fish can be over 21 inches in Massachusetts. But the summertime togging has been really good this year. Hard to say if it's because the water's a little cooler or if it's just more effort, but in any case, with only a 1 fish limit through the summer so far in Massachusetts, not that many guys have been doing it, so you can bet that the bite should be pretty good. So get out there, give that a try, and get those photos into me. Next thing is check in with Jenni Ackerman. Here's her latest installment of Open Boat.
Hey everyone, good morning, or good afternoon if you're watching the video fishing forecast. Today we're on the beach. And you see behind me we have surf casting legend Shelly Karras, and he's been fluking off the beach and being very successful, but he's fluking a little bit differently. He's using jerk baits. So today he's going to show us how it's done, catching fluke on the jerk bait.
Come on, Fluky. I started fishing for fluke probably when I was 7 years old. My dad took me to the Shark River, and we would use spearing for bait and fish the outgoing tides in the Shark River inlet and catch, fluke all summer long. We were residents of Union, and we had a summer home in Belmar, so that was where I was introduced to fishing, and I became hooked for life. What you want to do is do a couple twitches and then catch up to the slack. And they hit it on that pause generally. This is my secret spot. Nobody knows about this location. It's got a lot of depth to the water, and the fluke are in here almost all the time. It's my secret spot, so don't tell anyone where it is. All of that darker water in here, that's where it drops off. So they could be laying in there waiting for something to slide over that sandbar. There's plenty of water here. Oh, I'm on. I'm off. And that's what the fluke are feeding on, a lot of them. When there's a lack of bait fish, they're in there feeding on these mole crabs. I'm looking for that scallop part of the shoreline, and usually that scallop area is where the deeper water is going to be. It gets cut out, and I'm looking for that little pool of water because the tide's pretty low at the moment. It's like perfect right here. Come on.
I got it. There you go.
It's a bluefin. That's not what we're here for. What I'm doing, it's generally 2 twitches and then a pause and then catch up to your slack. And even that bluefish hit on the slack. I mean, I should say when I paused and took up the slack. That bait will suspend and get to the bottom, and then on the pause it starts to rise, and that's when they'll attack it. About a week ago I caught one 3.9 ounces, or not 3.9 pounds, almost 4 pounds on a evergreen force. It looked just like a spot. And when I kept the fish and I cleaned it, and it had a spot in it, and it was hooked. There was a hook in the spot, and when first I thought it was a piece of wire, and I'm like looking at it, I'm going, what is that? And I pull it out, it was an English style fluke hook. And it got off, the eye was open, and I got pictures of it that you could show, and it's pretty cool. And the bait was so much bigger than the lure in size, so a fluke could take a really large sized lure. And that was my biggest one so far. And that day I had 3 other fish and 1 other keeper. But the fish almost 4 pounds on a jerkbait, it's pretty cool. Basically what you want to have is like a 7-foot rod, medium action to light action. It's kind of a softer tip to give it that good jerking motion, and then that pausing. Sort of like a 3,000 size reel. This is a Salt X, which is a perfect size reel for this type of fishing. The VR 50s are perfect. Anything that's in that category is going to work. You want to spool your setups with like 20-pound braid or 15-pound braid, and I'm down to a 12-pound fluorocarbon leader. And the snaps I like to use are the BKK snaps, small but super strong. When you get these lures, they're freshwater style lures, and they're freshwater hooks, so it's important to change the hooks, upgrade them to saltwater, heavy duty but thin wire. And what I'm using are the BKK hooks, and I'm using the Salt X in size 4, 6, and 8s, and they will work on all of these different crankbaits. And some of these will imitate, you know, spearing, sand eels. This imitates a spot, little peanut bunker. These are all going to work for summer flounder or fluke, and they work in shallow to water up to 7 feet along our coast. And it's a fun way of fishing.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a good option. I mean, when gulp isn't working, because there's so much bait in the summertime. I mean, you have sand fleas, like you said, spot, tons of different baits. So sometimes, you know, you got to match the hatch.
Exactly.
So you're finding new ways of catching fluke and having fun doing it.
And I tell everybody, I'm not giving up fishing with gulp. You know, I'll fan my cast with gulps if there's a bunch of fluke around, and I'll switch to the crankbaits. And when they hit it, they rip the rod out of your hand almost. It's an amazing hit, and I've caught them up to almost 4 pounds this season. And this season in general hasn't been the best fluke season, you know, but we're hoping that it's still got 2 months left, and the water finally got into the 70-degree mark today, and we're going to get some good fluke action the next 2 months, I'm hoping for.
Definitely.
And this is another option. It's a lot of fun.
Definitely, I mean, pick it up. I'm going to get some of these lures and do this next time I go out fluking, because just watching you fish, it was fun. All
right.
Go plug in for some flukes.
Okay.
Last thing, of course, is the giveaway, which is ongoing. We're going to give away this bunker-colored glide bait that I built, and hard to say if it's just been good fishing or if people really like that glide bait, but already seeing a lot of photos coming in, so I think it's going to be a good contest. You guys know the drill by now, but just in case, it's got to be, you got to send a picture of you holding a recently caught fish. It can't be laying on the ground or something like that. And you got to give me the pertinent details, like your name, where the fish was caught, how big it was, what you caught it on, stuff like that. You can email them to me at danderson@thefisherman.com or text them to the number on the screen. And we'll get you in the contest, we'll get you in the magazine, probably get you in the report, and who knows, you might win a cool lure. This one is going to wrap up on October 30th, so you got, the better part of 3 months to catch that winning fish and take that winning photo, and we will announce this winner on Halloween. So seems like it's far away, but these things go by quickly. So get out there, catch some fish, and get those photos in.
August 24th and 25th on Long Island Sound. WICC Surfside Hotel Greatest Bluefish Tournament on Earth. $25,000 for the heaviest catch, plus additional prizes equaling $40,000. Sign up now at bluefishtournament.com.
We're going to start our report this week in New Hampshire, where the striped bass fishing has been really good off of Rye, Newcastle, and even up to Portsmouth. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the poacher that was caught right in that region this week. Had 10 fish up to 47 inches and got bagged. He was trying to sneak them back to Massachusetts to sell commercially, and he got bagged. The only weird thing about this is that they haven't released the guy's name. Not really sure why that is, but that's a subject for another day. But on the other hand, I mean, there's a lot of pogies in the area, there's a lot of bass in the area, and the fishing has been really, really good. It's been mostly a boat thing, but I guarantee you, if you get in some of those rocky spots out there and go sling some eels or throw a chunk or a big metal lip, you're probably going to catch a good sized fish. Crossing over the border now into Massachusetts, let's check in with James Jewkes. Here he is.
Right into the reports. Striper fishing has been slow. But we've been getting good fish if you're willing to get out and grind. So don't give up. Get back out there. Chunk guys are a little slow. I should say bait guys are a little slow. But, just keep it up. Fish your tides. Fish are out there. They're coming and going. They do swim. North of us a little bit has had a few more fish. And a little south of us has had a little bit more fish in action. No other real reports. We're waiting for some night fishing on the refuge up here. That could be another 2 to 3 weeks out. Nests are still producing chicks of the plovers on the island, so just be careful when you come up. You may not be able to stay overnight. But up in the river, just about anywhere is all right to fish. Just got to keep going. Nighttime's definitely producing better than the daytime. And the freshwater guys have been slow also. I haven't heard anything from them, although I did see a few carp guys getting some decent fish. But for the most part, needlefish, soft plastics, metal lips out on the striper front has been doing well. Fresh mackerel has been producing a little bit better than the other guys. That's really all that's going on up here, Dave.
It's a stud. Heading down into Boston Harbor now, I was talking to Danny Parma from Fish Bucket Sport Fishing. He said the bass bite kind of fired up even better this week. Last week they were finding a solid bite, but having trouble finding a really big fish. This week they've seen a lot more fish in that 40 to 45 inch class. Trolling mojos in the harbor, a lot of bunker around, and the bite's been good. They also took a couple trips out to Stellwagen looking for tuna. Said the tuna have been pretty scarce, but they did well on haddock. So that's something else you guys can do if you're shoving off from Boston. Heading down the South Shore now, Weymouth down to Plymouth and even beyond that. Striped bass fishing has been very good there. There's a lot of bunker on that stretch. A lot of surf fishermen are cashing in there. We're seeing fish in the 12 to 20 pound class, a few bigger ones mixed in. Metal lips, needlefish, big soft plastics, they're all getting it done. And by all accounts, the bite's been good. The boat guys are getting in on it too. Fishing some of the near shore ledges or just casting into the rocks. It's been good. When you cross the canal, that bite seems to extend. You get out into the Sandwich area, you get all the way out to Eastham even, and there's a lot of fish along those beaches, a lot of bunker, a lot of mackerel. So larger profiles are getting it done. Guys are doing it with glide baits. Guys are doing it with big soft plastics. Guys are definitely doing it with metal lips and big needlefish as well. One piece of advice I've heard from a few different guys is to fish the inlets. Any one of those inlets, even the little feeder creeks. have been holding some fish. So if you're having trouble finding them, maybe head to the inlet. You might find one there. Get around the end of the Cape, out around P-Town, and we're hearing about some good jig fishing out there. Guys jigging for bluefish and bass. They're finding some solid fish. I haven't heard of anything like gigantic, but fish well into the upper 30-inch class on the striper end of things, and bluefish from 5 to 10 pounds is basically what everyone keeps saying to me. Go down a little bit further down that beach, get more toward Nauset, and Nauset's had a couple of good evening bites this week, especially before we had that big push of like thunderstorms that kind of came from the wrong direction. I think that was, when was that? I think that was maybe Saturday or Sunday night. Those thunderstorms came from the east, and right before that, there was a really good bite on the beaches there. A lot of topwater action, a lot of soft plastics. Most of these fish were in the 20 to 30-inch class, a few up to 35, and then a couple kayak guys, Ian at the Goose being one of them, had some better fish up to 45 inches. So there's a good bite going on there. On the tuna front, things have been on the slower side, except for the guys that are heading out to the canyon. So the bluefin bite, in those usual spots, Stellwagen and the Sword and Crab Ledge, has been on the slower side, much slower than we usually see at this time of the year. But the guys heading to the canyons, doing much better. My buddy Andy had a couple nice fish this week. He had a bigeye. I know they had a swordfish. And there's been some mahi on some of the structure out there, or some of the floating structure out there as well. So a lot of offshore opportunity right now. As you get closer to home again, I know the bounty hunter's been out on Nantucket Shoal. They had more than 10-pound fluke this week, so that bite's still going strong. And then you get more toward the mainland side of Nantucket, and we're seeing a lot more bonito showing up in there. The bonito bar has had fish, and we're seeing them all throughout the Monomoy Rips, where there's also been great striper and bluefish action. There's been blues into the teens. There's been striped bass well into the 40-inch class, and lots of stripers in the 25 to 35-inch class with a good number of slots in the mix. So very good fishing in the Rips, which is, we've been saying that all along, but from what I've been hearing, it's been extra good these last couple weeks. So definitely a place you may want to check out. As you get further into Nantucket Sound, that's where the bonito fishing seems to be the best. I've heard of fish up to 26 inches coming out of there. It's a good sized bone. And a lot of these fish are being caught on the troll, just trolling X-Raps or something like that. But guys are getting them casting, all the usual things. You can get them on little top waters like a jumping minnow or a little top knock. You can get them on all different types of epoxy and resin jigs. You can get them on albie snacks. These fish are aggressive and they are abundant. I've heard of guys getting up to 50 in a day. So a lot of fish out there. I will say that a lot of those fish are on the much smaller side, maybe right around a foot. But there are some bigger ones, and it's a fun bite to get in on. Move up toward the Elizabeth Islands, you got some better striped bass fishing in there, and you also start thinking again about that tautog limit being increased up to 3 fish, because all along the Elizabeth's very good togging in there, so you might be able to kind of get yourself a little trifecta going. You get some sea bass in the deeper holes, get up a little shallower, do some of the togging, and then get a couple nice striped bass as well. Push through the islands, get up closer to the canal. That's where the best fluking has been. A lot of the guys I've talked to are telling me that you're weeding through a lot of shorts and you're not finding a lot of big ones, but there are keepers to be had in there, a lot of scup in the area. And as you get a little bit deeper, you're going to find plenty of sea bass as well. On the striped bass end of things, seeing fish up to 40 inches around the west end of the canal. A lot of these rainstorms have pushed a lot of the herring fry out of the run, and that has fired up the mackerel, which are moving into the canal, which is attracting more striped bass. So we've seen some topwater activity in the canal, and for a little bit more on that, we're going to check in now with East End Eddie. Here he is.
Hi Dave, got a west dropping tide behind me on the canal. The canal right now is loaded with mackerel. Big school came in from the East End the other day, and I was talking to a guy in the East End who caught 50 mackerel the day before. He wasn't using a sabiki rig, he was using a small lure. Next day I was fishing at the herring run, and big school of mackerel was right in front of me, so that's a promising sign. Most of the fish that have been caught lately have either been small slots or a little bit bigger than slots. Some of the guys that have had success with slots are Dana Hardhat Hannah, Josh Casoli, Adirondack Jim Crome. They all caught slots. Dancing Ben Firmino hooked up a teaser to his white popper, and he caught a fish that was just a little bit small in a slot. Slapshot Scotty Yule caught 2 slots. He's a great guy and a great fisherman. And Zach Attack Baker caught 7 fish, including 3 slots on an east tide. And then a few days later, he caught 3 more slots on the west tide. So some of the plugs that have been doing very well on the canal recently, the Al Gags jigs and Bill Hurley White Canal Killers, Fish Lab, Green Mac and Blue Mac, and the Ocean-Born Flying Darter by a band of anglers. So my tip this week is when you're reeling a fish in, make sure that you don't reel it right to your feet, because the rod is not made for that. It will break. So when you've got a fish about 10 feet out in the water, you want to back up some and guide the fish into where you were standing. And I know that's easier said than done, especially in the canal, because sometimes it's hard just to find place for 2 feet, let alone space to be able to back up. But you really have to do that somehow, because if you reel that fish in, the rod's going to bend and then it's going to break. So until next time, catch a big one.
Heading out to Western Buzzards Bay, I talked to Jason Colby at Little Sister Charters. He said the sea bass fishing has continued to be pretty good. They're struggling to find the really big ones like they were finding a few weeks ago, but the bite's still been decent. They've even been finding some sea bass in the river, and the striper fishing has been surprisingly good inside the Westport River. They're finding some decent tog outside, and they're getting in on some of that bonito action as well. So very good fishing in Western Buzzards Bay, and that's what I have for you guys in Massachusetts this week. Heading over into Rhode Island now, we'll start things off with an East Bay report from TJ Kopecky.
Thanks, Dave. Hey guys, real quick, got a quick video for you. I got to tell you, there's lots of bait in the bay, and if you're not seeing it, you're missing out on it. It's mainly a lot of bait inside of the rivers. The Warren, Barrington rivers are holding a lot of small bait, and you know what's eating on that bait right now? Skipjacks. Little small bluefish are in there all over the place. It's not just in the Warren Barrington rivers. They're in the Coles River, they're in the Lees River. But you know what's feeding on those are fluke. There's fluke in the Barrington River. I had a couple of good outings in the Barrington River, fishing the bottom for a fluke, and I've done pretty well. I got 1 keeper out of the mix, but for the river and about 5 to 8 feet of water, that's pretty good for the East Bay area. Look for good ground fishing also under the Mount Hope Bridge and into Bristol Harbor. Another really good spot for fluke that's been doing really well is the Hog Island Shoal, which is on the southeast side of the island. It's a nice sandy bar over there. It's always done well for me. And I know for a fact that there's fluke in there. I sent my buddy Chris in there, and they did really well with 5 keepers. And that's 19-inch fish. So haven't seen the big blues inside the bay yet. I haven't really heard much up the Secundit about them, but if you can get out to Fogland Point, inside of that little, the area on the, I would say it's the north side of Fogland, there's a little cove in there, and that spot right in there has always done well for me this time of year for fluke also. Just be alarmed that there's going to be a lot of trash fish in the mix too. So fluke, ground fish and scup is all good right now. So striped bass, not too good inside the rivers. That water's really warm. So get out there and fish, and we'll catch you guys next week.
And now the Dream Boat Fishing Challenge entries for the week. The Sea Robin category had 2 entries this week, shifting the standings. We have a New Jersey subscriber, John Payer of Lanoka Harbor, New Jersey, weighing in a Sea Robin at 2.39 pounds, putting him into 5th place. Then there's Long Island subscriber, Paul Albarano from Medford, New York, entering his 2nd fish in the contest, a Sea Robin weighing in at 2.38 pounds, putting him in 6th place. In the fluke category, we also had 2 entries. Long Island subscriber Thomas Luciano of West Sayville with his fluke coming in at 11.22 pounds, placing him in 7th. And then we have Walter Rowland, another Long Island subscriber of Huntington Station with his fluke weighing in at 7.3 pounds. The leaderboard stands like this. Scott Waterman still holding in at 17 points, and a tie at 13 points between Brian Zambreski and Anthony Savino. Just a reminder, for your chance to win the grand prize Steigercraft powered by Yamaha and other great prizes, you need to be a subscriber to the magazine and use a 2024 entry form filled out completely, available at thefisherman.com/contests.
In spite of the calm seas we saw last week, there was only one entry logged in the CKC, but it was a big one. Hardcore yacker Todd Treons landed this 47-inch cow striper, landing him in 3rd place for the category. The top of the tourney remains unchanged. Mike Radzizewski is hanging tough in 3rd place with 6 points, while Justin Oster and Bob Wagner remained locked in a virtual tie with 9 points apiece. Big news this week is the same big news we had last week. The offshore fishing has been really good. We had a really nice weather window, like an extended weather window, which has closed. We've got much rougher seas out there now, which is going to keep most of the guys off the tuna grounds. But the bite up until things changed was very good. Guys were doing it, jigging runsies, and most guys were trolling bars and finding fish of various sizes. We saw fish from like 35 inches up to full-blown giants, and a lot of wreck-size fish in the mix out there. So it's been really good. Saw a few more yellowfin starting to move in a little tighter too. So next weather window should be right back to getting after it. So hopefully that will hang on. Moving back closer to shore, I know the sea bass fishing has also been really good. From Newport over to Narragansett, and then heading out more toward Block Island. I also know Jeff Sullivan was doing a lot of that this week, so let's check in with him. Here he is.
What's going on, everybody? Jeff back with a weekly video. This week's gonna be a little short video, but it's a good one. Regarding the sea bass, the black sea bass bite has exploded in the last few days, in the last week, with a lot of bait being abundant. The sea heron have arrived. A small squid as well. These fish are spitting up sea herring, small squid, and sand eels. It's a huge forage our local fish feed on. So pay attention to what these fish are spitting up when you catch them. And that could give you all the answers and the clues to your fishing. But I personally, our boat has been using I'll just show you now, the Nomad Squid Trex. I think I showed you guys this a couple weeks ago, but I can't say enough good things about this thing. It just catches them. I'm just gonna go out and say that right now. There's a couple different sizes. This is the 150 pink white glow. Actually, it's pink tiger to be exact. This thing, you control it, you can jig it. It has squid-like scent inside of it. BKK assist hooks. It's already ready to fish out of the box. Guys in Australia are catching everything that swims on it. This thing is just awesome bait. This is what I was using for the sea bass this week, and just dropping it to the bottom, and it has that wiggle action on the way down, has that fall, has that vibration. It has squid scent infused inside of it as well. But this thing is absolutely a weapon of bass destruction, let me just say. But yeah, so 40 to 80 feet, in that range we've been finding them. We got on a drift the other day that was 2 miles long. It was just constant sea bass. So we got fish up to 5.5 pounds. So same time next week, guys. Get out there, get some sea bass. They're good to eat for the grill, good to eat for the stove, good to eat for the family. Go out and get them. All right, peace.
The best striped bass fishing in Rhode Island has been between Newport and Narragansett. It's been that way for a couple weeks. It's just all that water pushing in and out of the bay, a lot of bait, a lot of deeper water, a lot of cooler water, which is just fueling a really good bite. We're seeing fish up to 40 pounds. The kayak guys and the boat guys are getting in on it, and they're doing it a bunch of different ways, but one of the ways that's really been working exceptionally well is trolling the tubing worm. That's where we're seeing a lot of the biggest fish coming that way. But definitely getting them on live eels, definitely guys chunking some bunker and getting some big ones as well. So lots of opportunity for big stripers in Newport and Narragansett. And for a little bit more on that, let's check in with Captain Coral Aiello from Sara Star Charters.
Hi Dave, Coral here from Sara Star Charters with the Rhode Island Fishing Report.
The weather is definitely not cooperating for us boaters. Pretty much this whole summer, we've had so much southwest wind and south wind. It's making it very difficult to get out there, and lots of rain. I had to cancel 3 trips back to back because we just can't get out there. There's too much wind. You know, it's kind of odd to see that much south wind this time of year. Usually we have a west wind, but anyway, the fishing, as far as the fishing goes, it's been pretty good. I do have to say that the striper fishing has definitely been off this year, and I know I said this in my last video, but it's still pretty much the same thing. We are seeing so many fish. There's definitely no shortage of fish out there. There's tons of them, you know, out in Secana, out in front of Newport and Breton Reef, but they're super finicky. Like, you can go find piles of them and, you know, throw everything at them, and then, you know, you're not really seeing the volume that you should be catching when you're seeing all these fish that you're marking. You know, you can throw live eels in front of them. We threw live mackerel, and they'll just stick their nose up to it, and you're, you know, you can't figure it out. Sometimes it makes me feel like I don't know what I'm doing this right now, because you've never struggled this much to kind of consistently catch bass. And we are catching them, but it's like hot and cold. You know, one day you'll go out there and they'll be hitting, and then you'll go back out there even on the same day, and you know, the piles are still there, but they're just being super finicky. So that's just what I'm observing here where I'm fishing out in Newport and Breton Reef area. But as far as the bottom fishing goes, the sea bass bite has been really good. Tons of sea bass out there. We're definitely getting, you know, limit most of our trips. We're getting limit on black sea bass and 40 to 60 feet of water. The fluke bite has been kind of hot and cold. We haven't really done a whole lot of fluking, but we did try a couple drifts just the other day, just to try it, and we did pick up a few keepers in 1 or 2 drifts. So, you know, it's not too bad, but definitely not as good as years prior. What's interesting though is the bonito have showed up. We've had a run of bonito right now, and people have been catching them off of Secana and off of Newport. So that's kind of interesting. They're kind of usually a later on in the season kind of fish, but people are getting them now, and hopefully maybe the albies will show up shortly after. They usually show up the end of August into September. So we'll see what happens there. The chum mackerel have showed up. There's tons of chum mackerel off of Newport. Those are always pretty fun to catch, and a lot of people like using them for bait, for giant fishing or stripers or whatever. So, you know, we're definitely seeing kind of the same thing we normally see this time of year, but you know, things, you know, the bonito were a little early, and then the stripers out in Newport are definitely being a little different than they were last year. I don't really know what it is. I can't really pinpoint it. But overall, it's been pretty good. The offshore bite has been excellent. On the troll and on the jig, it's just been a really early bite. So you really have to get out there, you know, before the sun comes up, you know, get lines in and get set up, because the bite has pretty much been shutting off around 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 in the morning. So, but other than that, it's been really good. There's tons of bait out there still. There's a big school of pogies roaming around. There's tons of pogies out in Secana off of Newport, you know, off of Jamestown. So, you know, there's still tons of life out there. It's just been a little different than it was last year, but overall, you know, I'm excited to see, you know, as the season progresses and what we have in store for the next few weeks.
Now let's check in quick with Captain John Lee from JL Charters.
Hey, it's John Lee, Point Jewkes, Rhode Island. I'm over here on the pilot boat in Snug Harbor. We had some weather today, so I didn't get out on the charter boat. I did a couple of pilot boat runs, and this week we did quite a few bottom fishing trips. That was what I did, and for whatever reason, I kind of lost my touch with the bottom fish. Fluke were hard to come by. We got them, but we had to really work for them. And the sea bass, again, we got them, but they didn't jump into the boat. So again, this whole year's been a funky year. I'm not sure if, I definitely am not the only guy who is saying that. I'm talking to commercial fishermen, sport fishermen, and again, I'm only talking to guys who fish primarily out of Point Judith. I don't really know what's going on around the Cape or Nantucket, Cape Cod Bay, Buzzards Bay. Maybe they're banging them up, but around here it's been a struggle. You get them, but you got to work, and you got to take some tides where you don't really produce a lot of fish. Anyway.
Now, the guys I talked to that are fishing block have been telling me now for a little bit more than a week that the bass fishing out there has really started to taper off. Seems like that big, biomass of fish that was on Southwest Ledge has evacuated. Hard to say why that might be. There are still some nice stripers out there, but just not the numbers that we were seeing before. Much better sea bass fishing, and we're seeing a steady increase in better size fluke coming out of that area as well. So you might be better off to do more bottom fishing than bass fishing if you're going to head to block right now. And then moving up along the South County beaches, we're seeing the bonito off of the west wall. We're seeing them outside the breachways. So a lot of guys are cashing in on that. Striped bass fishing along that stretch has been decent. Not a lot of size. Most of these fish are topping out around 30 inches, but there are a few bigger ones in the mix, as there always are. If you want to target a bigger fish from that end of the state, I would head to Fisher's. I know that's crossing the line into Connecticut and New York, but so technically not Rhode Island, but that's where the best big bass fishing is right now from that end of the state. There are some small to medium bluefish around, and the sea bass fishing has been very good on some of those near shore ledges along the South County Beach area and some of the wrecks as well. And that's what I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. Crossing over into Connecticut now, man, things just really haven't changed much. There's bass and more bluefish with some bigger and bigger specimens moving into the race and the sluiceway. That's just been kind of the thing this whole summer. But guys are doing really well, three-weighing eels, three-weighing bucktails, throwing all different types of topwaters, diamond jigs, all that stuff is working. Get up closer to Fisher's, throw some eels into the rocks, you might get yourself a really nice striped bass. But that whole area just is holding a lot of bait, and it's just keeping a lot of nice fish around. You get up closer to the Thames River, and bass fishing's been pretty good all along there. The scup fishing has been exceptionally good though. So you've got that, a lot of schoolie sized fish in that area moving all the way out to Niantic, which is great to see. And we're seeing some bigger fish on all the reefs, and we're seeing some decent fluke behind the reefs as well on those deeper edges out there. I keep hearing that week after week. Guys are finding a few really nice fluke out there, but they're grinding for them. So, it's working for them, but you're going to get some decent fish if you do it. Get up close to the Connecticut River and things get a little bit more exciting. We're seeing a lot more striped bass activity in that area, and for a little bit more on that, let's start things off with Captain Mike Roy from Real Cast Charters.
Hey, what's up everybody? For this week's fishing report, this is the time for big summer stripers. We're running trips for them. We have some openings this week and next week, so I highly recommend you jump on that if you're interested. We're fishing live bait for big stripers. Now you're going to find them on the deeper reefs, cooler water, and again, live bait is going to be the key. These fish reside in eastern Long Island Sound all summer long. I wouldn't be surprised with the full moon coming up this weekend if we get another push of big bluefish. Usually in August we get a lot of big gator blues, so be on the lookout for them. Black sea bass are starting to show up on some different reefs, so also could put together a nice limit of sea bass. The other thing we keep seeing more and more of every year, to the point where it's becoming a real problem, is big brown sharks moving into eastern Long Island Sound. They're feeding on stripers, unfortunately, so they don't be surprised if you encounter one of them. A couple new things from iCast. I was down in Orlando last weekend, and have a couple new products coming out. The Shimano Vanford, highly recommend that reel. It's part of the Maglite series. Super lightweight reel, going to be great for casting small soft plastics. It'll be great Albie setup. It's very light with the MGL rotor. Also, the new Talica coming out with Infinity Drive. That is going to have dual drag washers, and it's actually going to create 30% lighter rotation under high drag pressure. So that reel is going to be easier to reel when you're fighting a big fish under load. So check those out. Good luck.
Now we're going to head up the river. We're going to check in with Rowan Lytle. Here he is.
Hey everybody, if I sound a little congested, just getting over COVID, that has kept me off the water a bit for the last few days. But Connecticut River is still fishing quite well, sitting in very nice, comfortable flows, and with kind of good sporadic weather this week, it's causing some pretty good bites to happen. Now, one thing that I've been having a lot of fun with lately is some large bluegills up in tributaries in coves. They've been feeding on insects on the surface, so little topwater lures, or in my case, big dry flies, are working quite well. And if you want to have some fun with the kids, getting out with some floats and worms or crickets or some other natural bait like that will work quite well for you for those big midsummer bluegills. But get out there, enjoy the nicer spells in between the rain this week. Thankfully, it doesn't look like it's going to be extremely hot again, which is very, very nice, keeping the fishing on the strong side. So get out there and enjoy.
And now we'll head out, stop in Westbrook, check in with Matt Stone from Black Hall Outfitters.
What's up, everyone? This is Matt here from Black Hall Outfitters in Westbrook with this week's fishing report. Still in full summer mode out there. Bass, your best hours are going to be early, late, and on any sort of kind of cloudy or overcast days. That's when the bite's going to kind of be the best, and those fish will stay active for longer in the brighter hours of the day. If you're going out at night, slinging live eels, GT eels, big soft plastics, that kind of stuff is great for nighttime. Black sluggos, things like that. Daytime stuff, kind of similar. Out deep, you can try three-way and some bunker. There's still guys getting plenty of bunker out there. We're still going through a lot of spoons. Starting to sell some more tubes, GT eels, still diamond jigging. Guys out at the race in the gut are still doing pretty well. So things like that are definitely still working in this kind of summer mode. Sea bass deep, fluke shallow have been the words that I have gotten. Sea bass in 80, guys are doing well. Fluke can be up as shallow as 30. I've gotten some good reports from shallow, which is pretty cool. Always fun to tangle with them in that shallow water. Porgies are everywhere, clams, squid, sandworms, that kind of stuff as per usual. And that's what's going on. Happy summer.
Now, similar to what we're seeing in Rhode Island, although not quite the same class of fish, the tube and worm bite has been really good this week between like 6 Mile and then heading all the way out to New Haven. Trolling along any one of those reefs, any one of those rips you have along that stretch of the sound has been putting out good numbers of striped bass, trolling the tube during the day. You can definitely get out there and do some chunking at night and probably maybe find yourself even a little bit bigger fish. That chunk bite is extending all the way out to the western sound as well. Scup or porgy fishing has been just unbelievable throughout this whole area for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It doesn't matter fishing from shore, from a boat, kayak, paddleboard, whatever. It's happening. And the bite's been very good. And we're still hearing about good summertime togging in this area as well. So lots of opportunity in that area for various species. Whether you want to do striped bass or you want to bottom fish, you're going to do well. And for a little bit more on all that and a few of the other things happening in the western end of the state, let's check in now with Max Finch from Fisherman's World.
Hey everyone, Max here from Fisherman's World with another local fishing report. This past week, we've seen some nice stripers taken. They're definitely in their summer doldrums still. Live bait, bunker chunking seems to be the key. The OB buoy and 11B actually had a really good sunset bite this past week with bass on top with that last like half hour of light. Every time the bunker schools came by, the bass would, just blow up. Guys were getting them on docks and a lot of live bunker. Guys drifting eels at night also are doing well, and then reverse surf casting, casting the eels into our shallow water boulder fields around the islands. The bunker schools moved in really thick again this week. They're coming through in waves, which is strange. And there were some bass and some big blues on them. If you want to target bluefish, diamond jigging, 11B on the outgoing seems to be your best bet. The fluke bite remains slow. You really got to pound away. You can find them in all depths this time of year from, 80, 60, 30. So bouncing around places like 28C, the humps, the hump outside Middle Passage, offshore Rhode Island, Can 26 and Can 24. Squid, spearing, sand eels, and big Peruvian smelt work good with bait, and then also gulp. Sea bass still remain on our deeper wreck, so fishing 50 or more. If you get on the south wreck, south of the islands, that's your best bet, like 60 to 80, and then the deeper parts of 28C and Green's Ledge. High-low rigs tipped with squid or clams work really well, sandworms, and they'll take a variety of different jigs, bucktails tipped with gulp. porgies, their bite is still remaining strong. Porgies are really good summer fishery. Guys are doing well from the beaches, from shore, from the piers, and from the boats. Remember to bring clam chum. That helps bring the fish and keep them down below your boat so you can get your limit. Thanks and good luck.
And that's what I have for you guys in the reports this week. Hopefully it's going to inspire you to get out there and fish. And if you're not a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine, I highly recommend you head over to our website. That's thefisherman.com. You get a full taste for free of what we offer. We cover all the fishing from Delaware to Maine. And with a subscription, which is $29.95 for the year, you're going to get 12 paper magazines sent to your house, 26 digital editions sent to your email. You're going to get digital access to all of our back issues, plus digital access to our other 2 editions. You get all that for $30. It's the best $30 you can spend in fishing. But if you check the website and you're still not interested, which would be hard to believe, at the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube and hit that little bell thing right there so you get a notification every time we post something new. Appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.